we've been closed for over 200 days, which in the 183-year-old history of our organization is probably the longest period of time that we've ever had without performances on our stage, apart from building refurbishments and that kind of thing. So it's really been a big shock, obviously, to the organization. And I think the good thing is we really adapted quite quickly to the new environment and surroundings. So we were able to do quite a bit actually over the summer, even with our In Harmony program in schools. That all carried on online over the summer. We did as much as we could, releasing digital footage of our orchestra from pre-lockdown to enable people to watch that free of charge on social media. And we tried to really just stay engaged with our customers via Zooms and phone calls and everything else. But the concert planning, when we were, allowed to plan concerts again, though, has been quite challenging because everything is done on a socially distanced basis, not only in terms of the audiences, but the orchestra on stage. So we're able to get about 30 to 35 players on stage. So that's meant the repertoire that we were hoping to perform this autumn hasn't been the repertoire we're able to perform. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to explore things we may not have normally performed. And it's a great chance for our orchestra to work in a slightly different way on stage. So yeah, we're just so happy and thrilled to be back. And I know the audiences that were there at our opening concert last Thursday were really, really thrilled to be back as well. So it's a good thing.
It's a great thing, and it's great to see obviously so many businesses, so many venues evolving through this crazy year, and you guys are doing exactly that. Capacity is normally 1,700 at the Phil. How many people can you get in now to a live concert, and how does it work? How do them? It's kind of like, it's obviously first come first served, but it's getting a lottery ticket, isn't it, to get one of them seats?
Yeah, at the moment in October, we only have about 240 seats that we're selling. We're hoping to increase that a little bit in November, but we've got 1,700 seats normally. So you're really at least 2 meters away from everyone. So it's a little bit different experience. But, I think the enthusiasm of the people who are there really makes up for it. And it is a great experience to still be part of that live audience, that live music experience. So we're obviously, at the moment, we're seating people in pairs, so that just enables us to more easily facilitate seating. But obviously, people attending on their own are welcome, and we're going to be looking at how we can increase the groupings a little bit as we move into November, especially for Christmas, which we have not announced yet. So we're trying to be as dynamic and responsive as we can to the market, whilst obviously adhering to all the government guidance around social distancing, as well as the current rule of 6 and the single households only attending. So, yeah, we're doing the best we can. It was an incredible amount of work over the summer to make sure that our building was COVID secure. And I think between the fogging, the hand sanitizers, the distancing, the really rigorous cleaning regimes that have been put in place, as well as just the how we move people around the building. We've got one-way systems. So I think the response we've had from our initial concert was that people feel really safe within the building, and it's a comfortable experience for them.
Obviously, you're taking a financial hit there as well in terms of not being able to fill, the capacity is so limited. How does that work, and how are you then funding these incredible shows that do cost money, that people don't realize how much putting a show like that on actually costs?
Yes, I think at the moment we're able to take less than 20% of what we would normally take for our concert, given the limited capacities. So obviously that's not something that's sustainable in the long term, but we feel it's really important to do what we can whilst we can. We obviously have applied for further funding through the government scheme that's been announced. We'll find out more about that next week. We also launched a fundraising campaign about 6 to 8 weeks ago, where we appealed to our attenders to support us, and we were so thrilled with the response that has had as well. We really received great support from the individuals who come to Philharmonic Hall, value what we do, and really are supporting us hugely during this period of time, as well as just things like donating back tickets when we had canceled concerts. That was a huge, huge help to us over the summer. Our corporate sponsors have also been great in kind of sticking with us through this difficult time, by and large, which has been really supportive, as well as some of our major trust and foundation supporters. So I think with all of that help combined, we will get through this. We have to get through it. You know, it's gone on 183 years. It's not going to end this year. You know, I think we're all absolutely determined to make sure that it's there for the long term, because it's such an important thing. And it's an orchestra and an institution like the Liverpool Philharmonic is not an easy thing to recreate, you know, once it's gone. And I think, you know, people in the community value it enough, so hopefully that will not happen.
What happens to the shows that were originally booked in? So say you've got a comedian, for instance, booked in to play. What would happen to that show now? I know some of them have been rescheduled, but I presume there's only so far you can go with keeping on to rescheduling these incredible shows.
Yes, it's a domino effect. I think when we were closed initially in March, we started scheduling things through June and July. Then those things started getting scheduled for the autumn. And now our autumn shows are, you know, those will all be gone really through December, we're anticipating, in terms of not the orchestral shows, but anything non-orchestral, because it relies on the whole tour being able to happen. And so many venues of our size are simply closed at the moment. I mean, we're so lucky to have our own venue and our own orchestra so we can continue to play. But those other shows are constantly being effectively rescheduled. The problem is now we're into really autumn 2021 for some of the rescheduled performances. Trying to plan that far in advance, especially for some of the tours, well, you know, it's difficult. Trying to mesh that with the orchestral schedule is even more difficult as it comes on board. The other thing that we've encountered is that some of the conductors that were coming to conduct the orchestra have been hit by the quarantine restrictions. So I think we're in a position now where nearly every conductor this month we're having to replace with a different conductor because of those restrictions. So it's basically a constantly moving feast,
constant battle
in every way, shape, and form. But I think we're so determined to keep things going whilst we can that, you know, that's just how things are at the moment. And you just either adapt to that or, you know, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you're obviously a lot of positivity there as well, which we love to see from you and the team. What's 2021 looking like at the minute, and kind of what's the ideal situation for Liverpool Philharmonic Hall?
Well, I guess hopefully, if the COVID rates come down in the city, we will be able to gradually, you know, reopen with more capacity. I think that's the key, and that's what everybody's really waiting for. I think. Obviously, there have been performances announced at the Royal Albert Hall in London for December, and there are different approaches that different venues have taken on what social distancing means, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, you know, this has been said a million times, but yes, until we get back to a situation where we can have 1,700 seats or close to that, it's not terribly viable to run as an organization. The subsidy required to do that is enormous, and most of the non-orchestral shows, which are, you know, commercial in nature, just can't run without that being the case. So it's just you know, waiting and seeing how the situation develops, I think. And I mean, the bottom line is we have to operate safely, and we would never ever compromise, you know, the health of our artists, our staff, our audiences. So the COVID rate has to come down, I think, is the bottom line.
Yeah. You've announced some big shows today. We've got a John Lennon celebration, for instance, and lots of virtual shows that people can enjoy at home. I love the way you've done this. You're one of the first, what I've seen in the country, to put on these virtual shows. Just tell us about these and how it all works and what we can expect over the next couple of months.
Sure. Again, this is something we've invested heavily in. We're basically bringing in a film crew for each of the orchestral concerts we're doing this autumn, and then offering that as a kind of on-demand concert. So it's not live streamed, but it's kind of as live. But what we've also done is around it, we're doing a pre-concert Zoom like this with Stephen Johnson, who's one of our regular pre-concert talk speakers. So he kind of gives you an insight into the works that are going to be performed and the background and the history, about 20 minutes. Then we all watch the concert together. And then afterwards, we come back for a post-concert Zoom, kind of a post-match analysis with the musicians, some musicians from the orchestra, the conductor, maybe a soloist, et cetera, to kind of talk in a kind of intimate way that you wouldn't normally be able to do at an in-person concert, to really get the musicians' reaction to what's going on now, to the pieces they performed, to really give the audience an opportunity to ask any questions they have of what a musician's life is like. So we did our first one a week or so ago, and it went really, really well. We were really pleased with the number of people who came in on the Zooms. Obviously, you can watch the concert on its own without doing the Zoom bit of it as well, but it's just a nice, again, it's never the same. It's not the same experience as watching the actual concert, but I think for a lot of people who aren't comfortable going out yet, it's not a bad alternative, especially with the interaction of the Zoom added onto it. So yeah, we're doing our next broadcast is the 14th of October, but all that information's on our website.
Okay, we've got some great stuff planned. As I said, that John Lennon celebration, and tons more. We'll share all of that information as to how people can watch it and download these shows. Melissa, you're not from Liverpool. I've spoke to you before about this. You love living here. That sense of gathering and obviously, culture events have been massively hit in the city, and we love culture and events in Liverpool. Will we get back to where we were in this city, capital of culture once before, and how will we do that?
Oh yeah, I think we will get back, because it's such a fundamental human need, I think, to be in a space listening to live music, listening to comedy. I think that's just something that's not going to go. But hearing live music with other people is absolutely, you don't realize how much you miss it till you have it again. And I think to sustain ourselves, especially in times like this where the world is very, very difficult from a whole variety of angles, it's really something that people need more than ever.